Hi, I'm Steve Ferrell. Welcome to the 30-Day Meditation Challenge. If you're newer to this page, I'm going to suggest that you check the link in the description as a way to sign up for our newsletter so that you don't miss out on anything. Welcome, meditators. I hope you're having a good time during this 30-Day Meditation Challenge. In today's practice, we're going to be doing a practice that I like to call thought without a thinker. And so as per usual, I'm not going to give you too much info on this. We'll sort of tackle it as we get into it. Finding your comfortable position, right? Whether lying or seated on a cushion, in a chair, on the floor, or on a couch. And close the eyes if that seems appropriate. Beginning to settle the mind into this body by taking a few deep breaths. And after 2 or 3 deep inhales, slow exhales, letting the breath be smooth and easy and effortless. And feeling those sensations of breathing happening in a body. And in today's practice, we'll be using the breath as a bit of an anchor for our attention. And when I say anchor, I don't only mean something to hold our attention in a place, but also the anchor as something to come back to. That if we do notice that we're getting wrapped up in thinking, not only as something to focus on, but something to bring our attention back to. And so we start by feeling breathing. Doing our best to attend to just those sensations. And this kind of attention that's not so narrow or laser pointed, this kind of attention that's more expansive, that's more inclusive. And so even though we are feeling the breath, let's say in the foreground of our attention, we'll also start to notice the kind of thinking that's happening in the background. And right away, there doesn't necessarily have to be thinking. Or even what we might call complete thoughts, right? Or thoughts that have pretty concise language attached to them. Right? But we just start to notice the thinking mind, right? From that place of attention and stability. From that place of smooth, easy breath. And as you notice those thoughts, or any thought, and again, keeping in mind that the way that thinking arises for one person is not necessarily the way that thinking arises for another person. That some people will be more language-based thinking. Some people will have more image-based thinking. Right? A combination of the two. That as you notice those thoughts or images, I want you to try to notice if you're choosing to think those thoughts, or if those thoughts are just arising. Are you choosing to use that language, to think that thought, or to create that image in the mind? Or is it almost as though the images or the language is being chosen for you? Even if you begin to notice that one train of thought starts to turn into another, or one thought leads into another thought, one image turns into another image. Just noticing, are you choosing the pathway of thinking? And as we really notice thinking, which might be a pretty new practice for some of you, just like noticing thinking, that we might really begin to recognize that some of our thinking just seems to arise from nowhere. That we are thinking thoughts or we are seeing images, right? That we as individuals are not choosing to think or choosing to see. Or this idea of, now I'm going to think about this. And then now I'm going to think about that. And when we start to notice these thoughts that just arise out of almost nowhere, maybe even the content of the thinking is not something that we would normally choose to think about, right? That this is normal. In meditative practice, this is what we call thoughts without a thinker. Many of the thoughts that arise in our mind, we're not choosing to think. Many of the images that arise, we're not choosing those images. Some of your thoughts Maybe your mom's thoughts or your dad's thoughts, your culture's thoughts, or the thoughts of your era. Sometimes they're the thoughts of the media that you consume. Like when my mind starts to think about zombie apocalypse or chocolate chip cookies, then I'm not choosing those thoughts, that they're just arising. And although I need to take responsibility for my thoughts, that I'm not to blame for all of the thinking that happens in my mind. And some of my thoughts are being chosen for me. And then my job is just to do my best to notice that, to recognize that. And also be aware what I do with that. What I do with those thoughts. Deep breath in. Slow breath out. One more just like that. Adding whatever movement you need. Then time opening the eyes. Coming back into this space. I hope that you've enjoyed Thought Without a Thinker. And I think this is a really important thing for us to recognize in our own minds, as well as in the minds of people that we might be working with, is that we're not to blame for all of our thoughts. Some of these thoughts are ancestral thoughts. Some of those thoughts are Entertainment Tonight's thoughts, or the news's thoughts, or the newspaper's thoughts. And that although we're not to blame for all of the thinking that arises, we do need to take responsibility for the thinking that arises. And take responsibility for how we connect to them, or how we relate to them, how we cling to them, or how we try to push them away. Hands to heart, head to heart, and one bow.